All right, mahalo everybody for joining us this morning. Really excited for this presentation. It's given by Mike Ade. He is our plant crew coordinator for the Maui Invasive Species Committee, a position that he is now making 20 years in as of this year, which is nearly as long as there has been a MISC. He leads both a crew based in Paia and our Hamakualoa area, upcountry area, essentially all around Maui. But he also leads a crew in Hana as well. He can identify hundreds of non-native plants and natives as well, including a host of pests he's kept from becoming widespread. So personally, in my mind, Mike is a bit of a legend. Really excited to work with you and to hear what you have to say. He's done so much amazing work throughout Maui Nui and in conservation in general, and has made some remarkable contributions to this field. So mahalo, Mike, for joining us, and I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, well, thank you, Serena. Well, thank you all for joining in on this presentation. And yeah, towards the end, if you have any questions, just let me know, through chat or whatever you want to do. We'll have a little bit of a time to talk about questions. So anyway, I'll start rolling across here. Aha, there we go. So like when an alien species becomes a missed target species, we take the second one, we attack it. Believe it or not, we find plants are invasive species like this. This is fountain grass growing on a some kind of artwork in someone's yard. We would have quite a bit of trouble to get permission to remove this plant from this guy. So we go about how we get these things done. What we try to do is include everyone possible. The more resource people, the better. So with this, public outreach is just about paramount. It's critical for reporting to us. We have a limited field crew, and especially where they can go out and do reconnaissance, working in areas where we don't know there are any plants there. We do a lot of survey and monitoring of other unknown locations for local spread. However, we just can't be everywhere, actually because our time is limited. So reliance on property owners and the public reporting to us is very important for the success of the possible eradication of any of these species. This is an example of some of our public outreach, and just describes plants and kind of what they're doing, where people can look, and gives you a basic identification information. And it's been quite effective, especially when we have interim crews that come in, or temporary workers. So it's quite nice to have this this type of information on hand. We have some basic stuff that we go through. These are from the National Invasive Species Council, and these guys are based out of Washington, D.C. Things like policies and other compliances and all. That's the kind of stuff that we're already pretty much aware of. But the number 3, 4, and 5, they're the ones that we sort of work with the most, due to that's how we can set up, even if we should start to attack these particular new reports. We go through the you know, after we get a report, somebody will report. We just get reports of all kinds of things, stuff that we know is here, and then stuff that it's like, oh, well, thank you so much for reporting this, and we're going to come check it out. There's been a lot of this type of research on invasive plants. It's out there, especially, and we're interested when it's similar geography. So if we can, you know, if we know it's invasive somewhere else, it's going to be invasive where we are. So what these weed assessments do is predict probable infestations. And with that, you know, early detection and control intervention is crucial. This next slide is, this is the type of assessment that goes through on each species. You know, like just about every plant that's in Hawaii has gone through this scrutiny. And thank you very much for the guys that are doing this. This map, even though it says it's 2017, it remains relevant just because of seed bank viability. Like just about every single plant we work with, it's, you know, it's like it's always over 2 years. And so we're up to most of the species that are on this list that you can look at right there are over 6 years of viability, of known viability. Generally with this, all these areas you can see it's spread out on West and East Maui. It's one of the first hurdles is just to get access, permission to control any of these places. After that, systematically, we control one site at a time. With this, the revisit timing of this is crucial. I just don't know why the thing goes. Timing is just about everything. If plants reach reproductive maturity, the suppression cycle just starts over. So we have places where this is occurring now with plants like we thought we had near eradication, which we'll roll through those later. But ivy gourd is one of them. We think we have the whole thing licked, and then a new population turns up from a report that we get from the public. So early detection and rapid response is very important to eliminate any additional seed bank, and of course, seed dispersal introduction to other locations. What this slide just represents things that we've had to do. We have areas that are so inaccessible that we actually have to fly them for survey and also to control by air. You know, without using the helicopter operations when needed, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just like a step back. So this is a 2020 Eradicable tracking information document. It's there's plenty more things that go with this. This is just a cutout of it. If you look at it, where we've had the, you know, we have progress, and then we also have feasibility, and that part there has been quite important. And if you can see the ones where we have recalcitrants, people who won't let us on to their properties, it's a major issue. But to state the eradication of a species is difficult, due mainly because we have no idea of where this plant could be. There just could be unknown local populations, or it could be really super far away from known populations. We go by known seed viability to state controlled. Like we've been going to these areas for 6 years and we've had no germination. We pretty much think the seed bank has been exhausted, so we just move it along. However, after like 2 to 6, most plants, like I said before, are 2 years, some are 6, and some are great, like over 20-year seed viability. But what we try to do in these areas is to monitor for twice as long for the known seed viability. And that helps us to come up with the thing where it says eradicated with a question mark. This is just a little bit more of a list. These are ones that we are only working on local known populations. Some of them are, they're just out in areas inaccessible or just too costly for us to do without significant funding increase for that species. One of these is the one on the bottom, the wax myrtle, the Morella cerifera. On East Maui, we controlled it. It was quite easy. There was one population, and the entire population was female. There was no male plant present, so we can totally eradicated that with a question mark. But the next slide, I have a little picture of it. On West Maui, that is wax myrtle, and it is, we're not too sure of its spread there. It went into an arboretum on West Maui, and we just haven't been able to cover the entire area that it's located. So like this is just a list of the main species that we work on. And like I mentioned before, that public reports are super beneficial to the success to control of each of these species listed. Like for instance, a report we received was from an upcountry plant nursery worker who used to be, he was a temp hire at MISC. And he was from Colorado. He knew this particular plant, Verbascum, thapsus, woolly mullein. And he reported it to us, and we took out a pretty good, here is Verbascum thapsus, but took out a pretty good population. And this plant is not kind, especially in subalpine areas, and it would grow all the way up to the crater and inside the crater.
5-minute warning.
Oh, okay. Time is flying here. So some of these species, they require the aerial work, which I mentioned before with the helicopter and ground effort, especially with the Myconia and the Pampas grass. They're pretty much, you just can't get to them. I'm going to go a little quicker here and just shoot some image, but that's Pampas grass in the center where a helicopter is going to be attacking it by air. And then we're just going to move across Pampas grass. This is one of the things where we want to do eradicable early detection so that we can remove local populations. This one just started as an ornamental Pampas grass in residential properties. It spread from 2,000 foot all the way up to 9,500 foot on Haleakala. West Maui has an extensive infestation. It comes, like I mentioned, it comes from these residential areas upcountry, and it's airborne, and it has a 40-mile dispersal rate because the seed is just like a little parachute, like a dandelion seed. This is just one infestation area up in ranch land between Poli Poli and the beginning of the cloud forest by Waikamoe. And these are all the pink things are buffers that we need to cover, and the blue dots are controlled plants within the last couple of years. Here's another one real quick, is Miconia. This was brought in as an ornamental and actually at an arboretum as a collector. Brought it in from Tahiti. And this is covering like 1,700 acres on Maui at the point, to a point of like, we're having trouble getting control on that. Areas where it's coming up, where people brought it to their homes. You can see them right there, down in residential areas. And it moves all along any place that it can possibly get to on the Hana side in super remote jungle. Yeah, so this is where helicopter work and ground control efforts have to work together. This guy here, the fountain grass, we thought we had this one eradicated, but not. We rely on other people to help us out. Fountain grass was brought into residential areas down in Central Valley of Maui and spread here and there. However, we have infestations now that are wild. This is not Maui, but this is what would happen if we weren't on this one right from the beginning. We can't even find this plant anymore. You can see like up in the corner, it comes into ornamental plantings. And it doesn't take long for this plant to cover. This is Big Island, which is about 200,000 acres covered. One spot was found by a reporter, a cooperating agency from NARS, the Natural Area Reserve guys. And they found on a flyby, by chance, flying by one of these areas, Pu'uokali is a preserve with super rare plants in it. And this population borders up right against it. It was a great find, and it was early detection. And we killed initially over 2,000 plants, working with cooperating agencies. And it was several at one time, and controlling 2,000. And to date, that was maybe 3 years ago, we began that. And to date, our last report, we killed one plant, one immature plant. This one here, this ivy gourd, it's another plant brought in by people. It's edible, and it's, you know, quite a bit shared between people. This is an area in Wai'ehu that is our newest infestation. We almost had this plant licked, but it's just unknown that this was there. And it's the same thing. We just have these timing things, and this is the main requirement. We just need other people to come out and to see these and report them to us, because we just can't be everywhere. And the plant does move fast. Seed bank on this one is over 6 years. I have to thank you very much. And these guys here, we work with everyone. Leeward, that's the Leeward watershed crew right there working with MISC. I didn't have a logo for them, but we can see we're working with plants right up on the top. This was a Verbascum sweep at 9,800 foot. And I think that's it. So any questions? Thank you very much.
Awesome. Mahalo nui, Mike. We have a couple minutes for questions. And then right after this, we actually have a webinar coming up with our little fire ant coordinator. That's not to miss, but want to give some time for questions. If anybody has for Mike, either here in the Zoom or on Facebook. We have a question from Sunny Savage, off topic. I've read different things about how long Haulekoa seeds are viable. Is this a 20-year seed bank?
Sunny, it could possibly be more. I mean, most of the acacias in that, or the legume seed, the seed viability is actually unknown. For instance, koa seed bank that was in places where it was old ranch land. When that was cleared, the koa came back and it was not introduced. It was just viable seed bank. But I would say 40 years. I would put it right with koa.
Wow. All right, another question from Monty. What plants are you most worried about that haven't yet been found on Maui? And I can only imagine you have an encyclopedia full already. So maybe the top 3 that you're most worried about getting here.
Well, getting here. I think, Monty, I think right now, I think what we're really concerned about more than anything, or what I'm concerned about, is just the viruses and funguses that have been making it in, especially attacking ohia. Because without, with plants, right now we have there's so many other organizations that are screening what plants can be brought to Maui. So that one is, we're hoping that they're going to catch most of them, but I really can't think of any particular plant that I'm concerned about, because we just have so many here that are already so bad. But I don't know if I can answer that question, but what I'm more concerned about are insect species and fungal and viruses affecting our native plants.
Great answer. I agree. And we can only kind of focus on what we have in front of us too. So yeah, but good question, Monty. And there's a whole kind of discussion about that from last night's presentation with Plant Pono. And I believe they're going to have it posted on the Big Island Invasive Species social media that addresses biosecurity and essentially why we're still allowing all of these plants coming on in without being checked. So great subject to continue a discussion on. Any other questions? We've got about 30 more seconds before we need to wrap up. All right. Well, mahalo nui. Oops. Mahalo. What's happening? Hello. Hi. Mahalo nui, Mike, so much for joining us in the virtual world. We really appreciate what you've done. If you have more questions, if people have more questions for you, how can they get a hold of you, Mike?
By email. That'd be the best way.
Okay. What's the best email to?
It's an easy one. It's ade, ADE, @hawaii.edu.
Awesome. All right. Well, if you have more questions that come up, send Mike an email. And if you think you might have any of these invasive plants growing in your yard or you see them, send us an email and report it at our MISC website at mauiinvasive.org.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Ho hui ho.
See ya.